Hi and welcome back to the CAT Tutor. Today we will be looking at Chapter 5, Social Implications of Network. In this section we will be talking about computer crimes, internet-related fraud, internet attacks, controlling PCs or personal computers, right of access versus right of privacy, misuse of personal information, security issues, avoiding security threats, safeguards, and the impact of technology on the global community. Computer crimes come in many forms. The theft of hardware, software, personal information, bandwidth, and even time and money. Some forms of computer crimes are quite subtle. You'd hardly even notice it half of the time. And it's quite difficult to notice until it's already too late. Therefore, we must be aware of the signs and how to avoid becoming a victim of such crimes. The theft of computer hardware refers to the theft of any physical computer device or component. Now, there are a few pretty easy defenses against this. Never leave your computer or computer devices unattended in public. Secure devices in safes and other locked containers. Use cable locks to secure devices to secure surfaces such as tables and walls, and pretty much any other way of protecting your devices. Now, the theft of computer software refers to the theft or sharing of any licensed software without express permission of the copyright or license owner, the people who this actually belongs to. This can also include CDs and DVDs containing their software. Defenses against this would be not copying or accepting any ripped software. Don't copy, download pirated software from sites. Do not share passwords or access codes for licensed software with anyone. Yes, let's face it, we all want to play the legendary pack of Skyrim, but sharing it without really buying the packs? Any theft related to your personal information that can be used by the perpetrator to pretend that they are you is called identity theft. Defense: never share sensitive information on social media sites. Yes, everybody wants to show off on social media, but saying certain things is it's wrong. Do not say it on social media, because they can use this information to pretend that they are you and commit crimes in your name. Never reply to emails asking for personal information unless the source is verified by you. Sometimes you can receive emails that looks like it's from a friendly source, somebody you might even know. This is not always the case. The address from which these emails are sent can be faked. Make sure you are talking to the person you are actually talking to. Never share your passwords, PIN codes, or any other confidential information with anyone, even your friends. There are many forms of bandwidth theft. One is your more common bandwidth theft, when people steal your password or somehow otherwise gain access to and use your internet connection. This basically slows your connection, hence the theft of bandwidth. Defenses against this would be following good password policies, not making it too short, not making it too easy, and avoiding installing free software from unconfirmed sources. Another type is known as hot linking. This is when someone links their videos to your websites. Each time someone clicks the link, it will download from your website, costing you bandwidth. The theft of time and service. This refers to being paid for work you did not do. This occurs when you work in an office and use the computer for personal use instead of doing work on it. It is for this reason that business places restrictions on sites that may be accessed via their equipment. A lot of people go to work and use the personal computers provided at work to play games. This is an unfortunate truth. Some of the listeners may know of this, not judging, but technically this is not allowed. This is for this reason that some of your businesses that you may work in one day will be very harsh and very strict about what you are allowed to do on the computers provided, if they added provide computers. Sometimes it will place restrictions on which software you're allowed to use. Sometimes they will place restrictions on what you are allowed to install on the computer, but most of the time they will place restrictions on which sites you are allowed to access via the internet, via their computers. Internet-related fraud. Well, let's face it, there are a great many ways to fall victim to fraud, be it through phishing, pharming, spoofing, a hoax, or even catfishing. A person should always be prepared and vigilant. Be on your toes, people. Always look for holes in background information or missing facts. Make sure before you accept anything online and never take anything at face value. There are always sharks out to get you. A scam is a scheme used to obtain money from someone. Phishing, when a person tries to obtain personal information that would give them access to valuable information or even your banking details. Ever received an email that says, "You're a winner! Just give us your banking details and password"? This is a good example of phishing. Sometimes it comes in the form of clickbait, where it asks you to click on certain links. Sometimes it comes in the form of emails, also known as spoofing. Spoofing is when the person tries to steal your information by sending an email, specifically pretending that they are supposed to be a trustworthy source. Ever receive an email from a bank that you don't even have an account with? This is spoofing. Farming, on the other hand, which is possibly one of the more dangerous and more subtle internet fraud measures. Farming is when a person tries to steal your personal information through a fake website. The risk of this is, even if you type the website's URL perfectly, its address at the top of the bar, even if you type it in perfectly, you could still be redirected to a fake website. Make sure don't go onto websites you don't trust. Hoaxes. Now this you would have heard of before. Hoaxes are false news and other messages that you may receive claiming false facts about or related to you. Once again, congratulations, you are a winner. Just send us this, or just email us this, or just tell us this. Never fall for such obvious tricks. Catfishing is pretending you are someone you are not to try and get close to someone. And yes, this is illegal. So for all of you who have made fake little websites or fake little identities for yourself, trying to impress your crush, beware. Clickjacking, as before mentioned, is a method to trick the user into clicking a link that will reveal confidential information. This can be passwords, PINs, or even normal identity numbers. Internet attacks. Similar to internet fraud, there are also many different forms of internet attack that businesses must be wary of. If these businesses do not have defense measures in place to protect them from these attacks, it could lead to a complete and catastrophic crash in their servers. This happens every day. This can cause many more problems and must therefore be prevented before it happens. Ever tried to access a site but not been able to get in? This could possibly be the result of an internet attack. Common forms of internet attacks come in the form of denial of service, otherwise known as DOS or DDoS attacks. This is when a server is flooded with requests from compromised computers, causing ordinary users to be unable to access any information. The attacker would often take control of several computers, and by several I do not mean 2 or 3. By several I mean dozens and dozens of computers. He will hack them, he will install bots on them, which will be explained. And those bots will take control of all these computers that will then at the same time access the site and send requests to the site. Think about it as having 50,000 tons worth of paperwork suddenly loaded off on you. You want to cry, you want to stop, you just want to run away. This is what happens to the server. Having so many requests sent to it at once crashes it, causing it to deny any service further, hence denial of service. It denies any service further to anybody else trying to access the site. This would be common users like you and me. Cyber terrorism, on the other hand, not to be confused with DDoS attacks. Cyber terrorism is an attack on a country's IT infrastructure, specifically its infrastructure. Spoofing attacks. We've already explained spoofing to you. This is when an email is sent to you to try and convince you to give them confidential information, to trick you into it. While spoofing attacks, stealing information or downloading malware to a person's computer via an email. One can do much more with an email than just find confidential information, personal information, or other information. One can also download malware or malicious software to a person's computer. Ever wonder why EXEs are never allowed in emails? This is why. The possible risk of it being malware is too high, and therefore most email companies do not allow you to attach any executable files for the risk of it being malware. Sniffer attacks is checking data packages sent over a network and gaining access to any unencrypted files. Ever seen pretty important documents over the internet? Well, if you don't lock them, you can run the risk of other people finding out what they were. Controlling PCs. Well, I did say that I would explain what a bot was. Bots are a type of software package that automates certain preset functions. Every bot can do something different, something it's been programmed to do. Used wisely, they can be of great assistance. All the discrimination against bots, some of them are actually good bots. Malware bots, on the other hand, are used for more malicious purposes. They gain and take control of a user's system, eventually locking the user out. At this point, the computer is classified as a zombie. If a group of computers and computer devices are infected with these bots, it is known as a botnet. Right of access versus right of privacy. Things to note when dealing with important information. Doing work on someone else's computer may give them the right to access that data. So borrowing your friend's laptop when working on top secret FBI stuff, not really the best idea. Posts on social media sites like Facebook are owned by them under the rules of the EULA or the end user license agreement that you agreed to the second you made your account. Be careful what you post once again, because the second you post it, it is no longer just yours. Accepting AUPs may grant others access to your files, just as previously mentioned with the EULA for social media sites like Facebook. Accepting acceptable user policies may or may not grant others access to your files. If you use your work's network or your work's computer, keep in mind they would have had you sign an AUP. And in this AUP, somewhere, small, in tiny little letters and phrases, they would have probably said that anything you do on their computer belongs to them. Never blindly accept something without reading it first. You may end up regretting it later. The misuse of personal information. Most websites sign an agreement that do not allow them to share your information with others. Be this for good reasons or bad, not all of them follow this agreement. Ever wonder how spammers got your email address? Remember that game site you recently signed up on? Let's just say that there is a reason that you sign a EULA. Although in some cases this is illegal, if you give permission, there's no going back. Security issues. Like many other things, there are a great many risks attached to computers, as we have already seen. Unfortunately, it only gets worse from here. Malware, spyware, keylogging, even less malicious threats like adware and pop-ups all form part of these threats. It is important that you know the differences between them as well as how to defend yourself against them. Security issues like malware. Viruses. We all know what a virus is. It's a malignant piece of software that purposefully corrupts, it breaks files and disrupts normal functionality of a computer. It messes with you royally. It stuffs your programs. You can't work with your computer anymore. Worms, on the other hand, a less known malware, but equally as dangerous. Although malware doesn't corrupt any of your files, it is known as a copy and paste bug. This bug duplicates itself, and it keeps duplicating itself in a system until all the hard drives are full, and I mean chock full. It slows the computer until it can hardly function or even be accessed. Most of the time, the unfortunate side effect of a worm is that you will have to format your entire drive, because once your hard drive is too full, you can no longer access it. Think about your hard drive as a storage building. Now, your RAM can walk in and out of the storage building to get data, to go place data in, to go work with data. But the problem is, if this storage building is so overloaded with paperwork, even RAM can't access it. They can't even get through the front door. Once this happens, you can no longer use your hard drive or the rest of your computer. Trojans. Well now, these tricky little buggers, they disguise themselves as good and friendly and useful programs. But once you activate them, it shows its true colors. Ha! Now we get to the more annoying malware, like adware and pop-ups. Now, let's face it, adware is really not that difficult concept. It's adverts in the form of software. It's pretty much just as easy as that. But it does have a habit of downloading itself to your computer, and that can get quite annoying. Pop-ups, on the other hand, are even more annoying ads. They pop onto your screen. It's an online menace. We all know this. They just won't go away. However, they aren't really that malicious. They're just very annoying. Ad blocker plus, here we go. Now we get to the annoying, most annoying malware, and that would be spyware. Malware that is used to spy on others and what they are doing online and what they are doing on their computers. There are many forms of said spyware, such as keyloggers. Keyloggers record keys that are pressed and take screenshots so that the hacker can get passwords and other sensitive information. Trojans are also commonly used as spyware. Trojans are commonly used by third parties to install the spyware onto your computer. These are most commonly known as RATs, or remote access Trojans. The second they are activated, it installs itself into the background and the spy can start sniffing around on your computer without you noticing. Keep in mind that there is a very large difference between anti-spyware and antiviruses. Antivirus software most commonly has anti-spyware software built into it. So if you have an antivirus, it is not necessarily the case that you have to install anti-spyware software as well. But doesn't matter which one of the two you have, it must be regularly updated. Just like viruses and bugs in real life, viruses in computers and networks also mutate and change their coding so that spyware and antivirus software cannot pick them up. You have to regularly update them or it will be redundant. Now we get to the most dangerous form of malware, known as ransomware. Although it is a lesser known amongst them, it is by far one of the most dangerous malwares. Just as the name would suggest, your computer is held ransom, but not physically. All the data on your computer becomes encrypted, and the encryption key is only returned if you pay the hacker or other terrorists, if you pay the hacker the fee that has been demanded. Unfortunately, there is no guarantee that they will honor their part of the deal once the ransom is paid. After all, they can create a fake encryption key, send it to you, and then your system will simply not be decrypted. In case you don't know what encrypted and encryption key is about, encryption is when, through the use of a mathematical algorithm, all of the data on your system is shuffled around, placed in a new order to make it unreadable. The encryption key is this algorithm. If you know what the algorithm is, you can simply reverse the process and make everything readable again. The problem is, if you do not know what the encryption key is, it's almost impossible to decrypt your system, unless you have a team of experts working on it. And even they would suggest it is not worth the effort. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, there is no guarantee that the hacker will honor their part of the deal once the ransom is paid, and it's therefore strongly advised that you don't pay them. To defend against data loss, regularly back up your system and never click on suspicious or even normal links unless you know it is safe. Avoiding security threats. Fortunately, there are many different measures that have been put in place to help us defend ourselves against these security threats. Things like firewalls, antivirus software, anti-spyware software, and even good password policies can all play vital roles in helping you defend yourself. Now, many do not know what the difference between a firewall and an antivirus is. Firewalls control the inflow and outflow of information between your computer and the network. This will include which programs are allowed to access the network, which are allowed to freely download from the network. All these little things. These are like your traffic cops on the corners, making sure that only certain people go in, so only certain people come out. Password policies. Many think, it's just a password, I'll make it my cat's name, that way I can remember it. This is unfortunately a very bad idea. Good ideas when it comes to passwords would be the following: making your password longer than 8 characters, mixing uppercase letters and lowercase letters in your password, using symbols and numbers in your password. All of these steps make it much more difficult for somebody to hack your password. Don't make it something personal, like the name of your cat. Keep in mind, if Joe, your next door neighbor who you had a fallout with, comes into your house and knows you have a cat named Garfield, it's going to be pretty easy for him to access your computer. Don't even make it something like your birthday or your daughter's birthday. It is still easily guessable. Never make your password something that can just be guessed. Also, never make use of patterns like 12345 or 12321 or 55555. This will make it much easier for hackers to simply run a piece of code that will figure out the password for them. And if you make patterns in the password, it will increase the speed at which they are able to figure these passwords out. Never, and I repeat, never write your password down. Ever. If somebody finds it, it will not take them very long to figure out what it is for. Change your password every few months. Let's face it, most of us are guilty when it comes to this one. We don't really like changing our passwords. What if we forget them? What if we thought we were still using a different password? Yes, this is one of the most annoying guidelines, but it is a good guideline nonetheless. Other safeguards. Regularly backing up your device and updating your antivirus and anti-spyware software can go a long way in protecting your device and data from permanent damage and or data loss. Other safeguards can be as simple as not sharing your passwords or keeping backups in safe and separate drives from the drives on your computer or other device. The impact of technology on the global community. ICT, or Information Communication Technology, has had a tremendous impact on the global community. Communication, commerce, economy, advancement in scientific and medical fields, everything has been advanced by leaps and bounds due to the immediate communication that can now take place. We are now able to speak and socialize with people on the opposite side of the planet. Most importantly, distributed computing power was invented. Originally, we had to wait weeks and weeks to get a reply from people in different countries, and that's if we were lucky and nobody was fighting with each other. ICT has made it possible for immediate communication. We can talk live with anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. Well, added there's internet. Distributed computing power. Ideas like grid computing and cloud computing, which was discussed in the previous video, has been made possible through this technology. Users can store and share information online via the internet, making their own computing power available to others as well as their resources. This is also known as peer-to-peer. And therefore, they no longer need to buy any expensive equipment. Well, okay, maybe some, but not as much as they used to. Distributed computing power has had an outstandingly positive impact. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. Thank you for watching. I hope this has helped. Don't forget to subscribe and enjoy your week.